about to loom knit the Edelweiss stitch. The Edelweiss stitch looks like the small rare alpine flower up in the Swiss Alps. It has this really pretty little petal design. You can work it in the round or in a flat panel. We're going to work both today, and as you can see, it has a easy lean to the left or even a lean to the right, and I'm going to show you how to do either one. So we're going to work in two different directions, as well as in a flat panel and in the round today on Good Knit Kisses. Welcome to Good Knit Kisses. We're all about helping you stitch your love and love your stitches. The Edelweiss stitch is a great stitch because it has a beautiful little texture to it. It's pretty universal. It's got a stretch. It does not curl. You can choose to use an edge like a garter stitch or a rib, but you don't have to. And it also has a diagonal to it. Now, this one that's used in the round or worked in the round, it is leaning to the left, but if you wanted to go a different direction, it can lean to the right. So it's up to you what choice you want to work your rounds. Now on the flat panel here, this one is leaning to the right, but you can easily turn it and lean it to the left. So it really depends upon the knitter. It's your choice, and we'll go over both today. I'm going to work on the flat panel first, and this one of course is leaning in one direction, but when we get to the working in the round, you can see how I can easily work it in the opposite direction. So this whole video will include both. Let's go over a bit of housekeeping stuff. Down in the link below, you'll get the written instructions for the flat panel and also working in the round. Plus, we do have a bonus pattern for you with 5 sizes in the Edelweiss hat. And then we will also have a video showing you how to make a decrease crown on this flexi loom. Now, you don't have to use a flexi loom to make this stitch pattern. You can use an adjustable loom, whether it's chunky or a smaller gauge like this. So you've got a large or extra large gauge, or a small gauge like this Flexi Loom Skinny, and just use an appropriate weight yarn. I'm using the Flexi Loom, the Skinny, which is a small gauge, with a medium 4-weight yarn today. You can use whatever you think is appropriate. We're going to do the flat panel first. Let's go over a couple of multiples just so you have it in the beginning here for quick reference. The flat panel is a 2+1 multiple, and in the round it is a multiple of 4. So go ahead and grab your supplies. They're down in the blog in the link below. And we're going to start in on the flat panel, the Edelweiss stitch in a flat panel. What you need to know is this is a 4-row repeat, and it is a multiple of 2 plus 1. So you want an even number and then add 1 more stitch. It works really well on this loom here because we have little links that have 2 pegs each, and so whatever links you have, the very last one, you're only going to use 1 stitch. Okay, so that's an easy one. I actually have 31 pegs on this sample here, and it's about 5 inches wide in my medium 4-weight yarn. This is Red Heart Chic Sheep. You can also use a fixed loom back here or any adjustable loom. Just make sure your yarn weight is appropriate. You need to know that rows 1 and 3 are knit rows. We're just using a U-wrap knit stitch. I do not recommend an E-wrap, and you can use a true knit stitch as well. And then rows 2 and 4 is where we're moving a lot of stitches and doing our specialty stitches. And that's where you get this look where it's diagonal. This one goes to the right because we start working our stitches kind of to the right here. But when we work in the round later, you'll see how you can make it work to the left. So either way, you're going to learn how to do that in this video. So stay tuned for working it in that direction. But for these purposes, we want to work our knit rows from right to left, and then that is our row number 1, and we'll begin our row number 2 over here. So you can cast on in a double E-wrap cast on or a chain cast on, whatever you want, and then work a row 1 all the way over to the left, or you can do a border with a couple of garter stitch ridges and make sure that you do another row of knit and come all the way to the left over here. So go ahead and cast on, and I will meet you after you've completed row 1 all knit stitches. See you soon. All right, we are on row 2. Row 1 we worked as a knit row, and the beginning of row 2 we are going to knit 1 and then work in pairs. Again, you can work from the opposite side of the loom. Now, when we talk about working in the pairs, I'm going to go ahead and use the terms peg 1 and peg 2. That way, if you are listening along, but you're working in the opposite direction, you'll be able to do this at the exact same time. Okay, I may even be able to put a picture in the corner of me doing it in the opposite direction. Okay, so I'm going to work with pegs 1 and peg 2. Peg 1 is the one that I come to first. Okay, so we're going to lift up peg 1 and we're going to move it on to peg 2. We're going to work this stitch together, both of these two together at the same time twice. So we're going to put our yarn down below as if to purl, and we're going to pull up a stitch to purl 2 together, and then we just take that new loop and place it on our empty peg, and that is peg 1. Tighten that up, and now we're going to use these 2 loops again to knit 2 stitches together. The best way to do that is to use a true knit stitch. So you just place the yarn above those 2 loops and go underneath that with our loom tool and pull downward to make a new loop. Okay, and so that new loop is our new stitch. We just pull off the 2 old loops from peg 2 and replace the new knit loop right there on peg 2 and tighten that up. Okay, so let's do that again. We're going to our new set of pairs. We've got peg 1 that we place on peg 2. And then we put our yarn behind peg 1 so that we can come down below peg 2 and purl these 2 together. So we pull our yarn up from the bottom, place our new loop onto our empty peg 1, tighten that up. Now place our yarn above peg 2 and pull downward to do a true knit stitch and make a loop. And that's our new stitch. Pull off the old loops, place the new one on, and tighten it up. Let's do it one more time. Next pair, move 1 to 2. Go ahead and slip the yarn behind peg 1, go below peg 2, pull up a loop to purl, move the new loop on the empty peg, put the new yarn above peg 2, pull downward to make a new loop, take the old loops off and put the new loop on peg 2 and tighten it up. And you just keep working that all the way across the loom until you come to the very last 2 stitches and work those the same. So go ahead and do that, and then you're going to work one more knit row for row 3 all the way back over here. So go ahead and pause your video, continue your row, and work row 3 knitting all the way back to this left hand side, and we'll see you there for row 4. Okay, so you should have completed your row 2 and then worked a row 3 knitting all the way back. So we're at the beginning of row 4, and now we're going to start our pairs with the very first stitch. So we're just shifting over every other patterned row. So we're going to work in pairs the same way we did before, except you're moving that very first peg over to peg 2. There's no knitting first, and then start by making our purl stitch. So we purl, we make that loop, move it to the first peg, tighten that up, make our knit stitch, pull downward. It's just a different way that I do it, and pull it off and replace it. So I'll do that one again to show you. That's more how I do it when it's just sitting in my lap and I'm not on camera. So I'm going to pick up the 1, move it to the 2, oops, and purl those 2 together. Put that purl loop on peg 1 and then knit peg 2. And I simply take my tool and go underneath the 2 stitches there, and I wrap around the new yarn, pull downward, making my loop, and then I just pull the old one off and put the new loop on. One more time. Lift peg 1, move to 2, purl them together, move stitch onto the empty peg, knit them together, pull the old off, and put the new on. And if it's too tight, just use your loom tool. Go ahead and work all the way across, and then you should have one peg remaining all by itself, and that stitch gets knit. And that is your 4-row repeat. So all you need to do is repeat those 4 rows over and over and over. Every other row is all knit stitches, and every other row moves the stitches. Now, if you say, I put down my work and I cannot remember where I was, I'm going to suggest that you look in the back of your work and study your stitches. So this is my suggestion. Come to the back here, and you can pull back your work and see where these groupings of stitches are. See this grouping right here? Okay, let's move down here. We see a grouping here, and you can pull it back and see that that grouping of stitches is in between these 2 pegs. And so these 2 pegs were a pair together. And so if I kind of hold my fingers down here, I can say, well, that was a pair, this was a pair, this was a pair, this was a pair. Okay, so the row that I did my last set of special stitches in moving had the knit one at the beginning. So that means that I did a row 2 first, and now I need to do one where I work the pairs without having that knit stitch at the beginning, and it's at the end of the row. And so now you know that you need to do a row 4. So that's how you can kind of determine and read your knitting in the back. So go ahead and complete this row. You just continue working those repeated 4 rows until you get your desired length. Next, we'll go into knitting in the round. Working the Edelweiss stitch in the round. So this is a Edelweiss stitch in the round. It's working on a flexible loom. As long as your loom is going in a circle and connecting, it will work in the round. You can use a fixed loom, or you can use one of any shape. It just works continuously. You need to know that you need a multiple of 4 stitches. That means the total number of pegs that you have divides evenly by 4. And then we are going to work 4 rounds. It is very similar to working the flat panel, except you're constantly going in the same direction. Rows 1 and 3 are always knit, so just like the flat panel version. And then rows 2 and 4 are the ones that cause your stitches to lean in that direction. So I'm going to be showing it going clockwise, working to the left, and you can see my marked peg here. You're going to want to get a stitch marker to place for your marked peg, and we're going to go to the left. If you need to see the stitch working to the right, you can see that in the flat panel video again, and click down the link below if you'd like to see this hat pattern. Okay, so to begin, grab your loom, grab your yarn. You're going to want to cast on in the direction that you want to go and connect everything in the round. You could start with the rib stitch like I'm doing here. You could do garter, or you could just dive in and cast on, and then we're going to start with round 1 or row 1. That is going to be simply just knitting all the way around. So you don't have to have a border, but you can. Again, mine is a 2 knits and 2 purls here, or you could do something else. Okay, so go ahead and go all the way around, pause your video, and meet me back up when you're ready for round 2, where our marker is. We'll see you soon. All right, we're going to begin round 2. We've got our marked peg here for peg 1, and it begins just like in our flat panel, where we begin with 1 knit stitch. So that's it, 1 knit stitch, and I'm going in this direction here. And then we're going to work in pairs. I have my peg 1. I'm going to place on peg 2. Move that over. And then we're just going to move our yarn behind the empty peg, go to the peg that has both stitches on it, and we're going to purl these 2 stitches together, move our purl stitch onto our empty peg, tighten it up. We're going to put our yarn above these 2 stitches here on peg 2 and pull downward and make a loop, pull off the old pegs or old stitches and place the new stitch on peg 2 and tighten up. Okay, so let's work another pair. We've got peg 1, we're going to move on to peg 2. We're going to put our yarn behind peg 1 that's empty, purl peg 2 together, take the new loop and put it on peg 1, tighten it up, and now we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. So I'm going to take my hook go underneath these pegs, wrap it around my hook tool, my loom tool, whatever you want to call it, and then pull downward and making a new loop. Take off our old loops and put our new loop on, tighten that up. So I just worked 2 pairs. You're going to continue working all the way around the loom in this way, and come back and pause your video when you have 1 stitch remaining before the marked peg, and we'll finish this round together. We'll see you soon. All right, we're at the end of round 2 and we have 1 stitch remaining before the marked peg. So we're just going to work these 2 as a pair, the last stitch and the marked peg. So pick up the last stitch, put it on the marked peg, which is your original peg 1, and we're going to purl these 2 together and place that new stitch on the empty peg, and then knit these 2 together in the same stitch, just as we did this whole time. And then put that new loop on there, and we finished round 2. So we're going to begin round 3, but we've already got a stitch on the first marked peg, so you're just going to simply knit all the remaining stitches for round 3, and that's it. So when we come back, we are going to do round 4. Pause your video and we'll see you there. Round 4, you guessed it, we're just going to evenly work these pairs. So all of these links on the Flexi Loom are really easy because we're just going to be taking peg 1, right where that marked peg is, and moving it on to peg 2, and then working it as we've done before with the purl 2 together, put the stitch on the empty peg, and then knit 2 together in that same stitch on peg 2. Make the new stitch, pull off the old loops, put on the new loop, and tighten. Now you're just going to be repeating these all the way around until the end, and the last 2 stitches of course are going to be worked in a pair as well. And then you just repeat these 4 rounds until you get your desired length, and then you can bind off or whatever else you want to do with your stitch pattern. I want to show you how to speed up your work a little bit. You can take your yarn and go ahead and move all of your peg 1s over to your peg 2s. If you do that, it's going to get tight after a while. I can usually manage about 5 or 6 of these pairs, moving them over, which is fine because you don't want to move the whole thing over at the same time. It might overly stretch your work. So I just work a few of these pairs, moving 1 to 2, and continue my patterning, and then do a new set of several more of these stitches and keep working them in pairs. And that is it. So work your 4 rounds over and over again until you get your desired length. And then here is your seam. This is where my marked peg is. You can see the seam is, I mean, if you really study it, you can see that it's right here in this spot. But for the most part, it's really unseen. It's not a harsh seam at all. You know, unless you're trying to change colors or carry yarn up here, this is really pretty great. I think it's really great seam here. So I hope you enjoyed learning about the Edelweiss stitch on the knitting loom. If you want to get this hat pattern, please click down on the links below, and we'll also have a link to the video on making the decreased crown for all 5 sizes of this hat. Thanks for joining us today, where we help you stitch your love and love your stitches. See you again soon.